let's get started. First of all, will you all just tell us about yourself and the work that you do at Canyon ISD?
Sure. I'm Paul Kimber. I'm the HR director with Canyon ISD and have been in this role for the last 5 years as the human resources director. Been part of CISD for over 22 years now. Taught, have been a campus principal, and it's just been a fantastic part of my life to be part of this district. Being in this role is a great way for us to help bring on others to the CISD family, and we're a growing district, and we'll talk more about that here in a minute, but I'd like to introduce my coordinator, John Forbes.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is John Forbes, and I am the coordinator of human resources. This is my 5th year in the district. I was a campus principal for 2 years before this position, and then was an assistant principal at Canyon Junior High when I first came to Canyon ISD. So I've been in this role since December. So I'm still getting familiar with all these processes, but I'm also fresh out of campus. So, we'd love to give some insight and some help as far as what principals are looking for candidates, but then also on the human resources side, what we can do to help you get in, put your application in, and just kind of guide you in the process.
Gotcha. Thank you so much. So tell us about the culture at Canyon ISD and what you think distinguishes this particular district.
Yeah, I think the culture, having been in the district for over 2 decades now, I think the one thing that I can say is it's got a very family-oriented feel to it. When I came in, there was 5,000 students, and now we have over 10,000. So growth has been healthy. A healthy aspect with our district. A lot of families and communities want to join this community and in the school district. Many of our families go to WT. We're kind of in a unique situation in the Panhandle because we have a small town feel with Canyon proper, but 75% of our student enrollment is in the southwest part of Amarillo, and then also the rural areas in between. As you're traveling up and down the highways that link both communities, you can see that there's so many homes that are being built, and all those families are joining Canyon ISD. The growth is not out of control like you might see in some other districts. And I say out of control, I mean where it's just rapid and we're just building buildings at a really fast pace. We've been able to hold on to our identity, and I think that has been really important. A growing district is like a business. You want that progress, you want that growth to be successful, and we're adding our 3rd high school. This is the first high school that's been built in many decades. I think Randall High School, which is part of Canyon ISD, was the last high school that was built in the Panhandle, and that was back in 1988. So growth is not really big in the Panhandle, but it's very big in Canyon ISD in both South Amarillo and Canyon proper. So I think that speaks a lot about our district and just how we're kind of a magnet here. Our teachers have great success here, a lot of growth opportunities for professional development. And, John, you could probably speak to that a little bit more. You've been with us for 5 years now and have served different roles and have served in other districts. So why don't you take over?
Yeah, so I think Paul hit a lot on a lot of the growth and a lot of the opportunities that are in the district. Something that is that also complements the district so well is there is still that small community feel to it. That I started out my career in the Metroplex and loved the opportunities and what was available in the big city, but have loved just the balance in Canyon ISD. There's a lot of the opportunities of a large district, just the very small community values. The district office knows people by first name on each campus, and so there's still a small town feel. The district's small enough that you're known by like I said, you're known on your campus, but then you're also known by people at the district level. So there's a really unique balance there, really unique, just kind of traditional family value, a lot of support from our parents, a lot of support from the community. So I've I was in a large district to start my career. Spent 2 years at a charter school, so very, very small district. And so it's kind of that really good blend mix of two. And like I said, as far as the culture in the district, it is a lot of very personable, small town community feel that you're going to have from top to bottom.
Thank you. So the next two questions on our list, I'll just ask them both at the same time because they're very related. But I want to know about the type of openings that you have and which of your schools and what subjects have the greatest need. If you guys could speak to that.
Well, I'll kind of hit the highlights, and John works in this world a lot on a daily basis, even more so than I do. But, opening wise, anything from a pre-K teacher all the way through a high school English teacher. It just varies. We just this last Monday night, we hired 23 teachers, took their names to the school board, and it was such a variety of different groups. There were elementary teachers, we had secondary teachers, and that would include, math and English and science, special education, speech pathologists. So there's a wide swath there, and really whatever specialty area certification that our applicants may, those credentials, chances are we probably will have an opening at some point. I'd say some of the higher needs that we've even seen over the past few years is at the secondary level in the areas of math and science, and even more, English is becoming an area we're seeing more of a need as well. So a lot of those secondary positions have been an area in the market where we've needed more. Special education is another area where we have a great need as well. But we're really hiring in all those different areas. And we, even the names that we took the other night, sometimes there's a misconception. Maybe, Canyon only hires experienced teachers. That's far from the truth. We, of those 23, 6 of them were going to be first year teachers next year. And those individuals even came from WT. So we like to have all various experiences. What we're looking for is the best person who's going to be working with our kids.
Awesome.
So I'll kind of add to that on maybe a little more of a kind of logistical front. I think Paul really hit on what our needs are. As far as you guys looking into those openings, you're going to see a couple different routes on our postings. We encourage everybody to go in and apply for, if you're an elementary teacher, go in and apply for, you'll see an elementary EC through 6 teaching position. And what that is, it's a general pool that any of our principals can go in and find applicants for the campuses. Same thing at the secondary level. You may also see some specific postings from time to time, and that may be because there's a little bit more of a specialty tied to it. There's maybe a science and athletics, or it may be an area that is like Paul was saying, more of a kind of a higher need that you might specific posting from time to time on that posting website. So, I would encourage everybody to go in and apply for that in those elementary, secondary, or special education teaching pools, but then also keep your eye out for those specific positions. The nice thing about having your name in those pools is that as we do get openings at any of those levels, you've already completed the application process. You're viewable, and so principals can already begin, are getting some familiarity with you, even if they don't have a position. So that's something I would encourage.
Thank you. All right. So you started talking about this already, but as far as specific instructions, you talked about these particular openings in the district. And so the application process, students would fill out an online application. Just like you said, they would look for those open positions, apply for those. So I guess let's go ahead and let me ask you, what are your thoughts about how a candidate should follow up on their application?
Yeah, so what there's several things that are going to be a part of the application process. When you submit your application, that's when we're going to begin processing, looking at your application, running background checks, part of the online application, you're going to be submitting a reference check request to several references. And so we're going to be processing all those things, including reviewing your references, reviewing your certifications. And so if you're applying for a secondary position, we're going to go in and verify that you're certified on the TEA website in that area. So make sure that whatever position you're applying for, not only have you taken the test in that area, but you have also requested for the final certification in TEA. So those are some of the behind the scenes things that we're looking and processing. And so if once all that's been completed, you're going to be sent a preliminary video interview. And once you'll do that interview, you've completed that, then the whole application process has been completed, and that's when you'll be able to be viewable by principal. So there's several steps there that occur, and there's a lot of steps, and I just threw a lot at you. And so what I would recommend is if you put your application in you haven't received a preliminary video interview, you're welcome to call the HR department or email any of us to just kind of check in, because it may be something with, we're still waiting on some references, or there's something with the certification we're still getting some clarification on. And then we've even seen that where, we've sent video link to you, but there's something that's incorrect on your email address, something like that. So if I would say 4 or 5 days have gone by and you haven't received a video link, contact us. But once that process has been complete and you have been, your application is marked complete, and there's a specific campus that you're interested in, if you're wanting to really work at Reeves Singer Elementary or Canyon Junior High, or something along those lines, and your application is complete, you're welcome to email that principal and just send them a resume, let them know that you're interested. And then again, as positions become available, they're familiar with you. They're familiar with your resume, with your application. And so that's an overview of that whole process in a couple ways that you can not only follow up, but then also express interest to specific campuses and just kind of check on status of your application. Does that answer your question?
That's perfect. Yes.
Maybe
and
more than you needed.
No, and we encourage students to do that in our office a lot, to show the initiative to really, if you want the job, make sure they know it. And so I think that was a really good point that you made. So you talked about looking for their certification, of course, as you're required to do, but what are some other things that you all would say you're looking for when you're looking at a resume or an application?
So I would say I'm going to answer this on two fronts. From HR, one of the things that we're going to be looking for are your references. What is really helpful for us is that we want to know how are you going to contribute to Canyon ISD as an employee? How are you going to contribute professionally? And so we want your references to be able to show that. And so, your friend may give you the best reference in the world, but it's going to be really as to gauge how that's going to translate professionally. So whatever reference you can get from a previous employer, even if it's not education related, that's something that we're going to be looking for on the HR end. What are your professional references able to say about you? On the principal end, you're applying for a teaching position. The campus principals, we're going to be looking for those same things. What's going to translate, as a professional, if you're new to teaching, well, what your previous employers say about you. But do you have any experience with kids at all? Or have you volunteered at a camp, at a church? What is your prior experience with kids, and what can people speak to on that? So that's something that we're going to see, look for. Obviously your student teaching is going to be a pretty good window in as far as how you did on a campus. And so what are your supervising teachers, and then your coordinators through WT, what are they saying about you? So those are some things that we're really looking for. Your experience with kids, how did you do in student teaching, and then what are people saying about you professionally?
That's great. So should students apply for more than one opening at a time? Does that look bad if they apply for 3 different jobs?
Absolutely not. I
Okay.
think I think you said it well. We would like to see initiative, and we like to see interest in the district. And so, what's really neat about our district is that it's still that small community feel, and the campuses are on one hand, each campus wants to get the best applicant, and so there's a little healthy competition there, but it's healthy. There's those campuses, those principals are close. We work really, really well together, very collaborative. Um, and so we want to see interest. We want to see interest in our district. And so we have see nothing wrong. Uh, hold it against. If anything, it shows very positive to be applying for multiple positions. At the same time, it's not going to be frowned upon if you're interested in one specific campus, but just obviously that does limit your possibilities.
Mhm. Thank you. So during this crazy pandemic time, how's this impacting your interview process? If a student is selected by a principal, they'd like to visit with them, how are you conducting those interviews?
Yeah, actually, I just spoke with the Canyon High principal probably 30 minutes ago, uh, and they're still moving forward with interviews. Now, obviously, there's something to being able to interview in person, just that personable feel. And so, on campuses and even us, we were doing interviews last week. We're trying to accommodate, so interview in large rooms, we can really space people out and try to closely disinfect and do that safely. But at the same time, principals and people understand that the whole situation we're in is it really it causes people concern to go out and be around other people, and that's not looked down upon. Or you may have a family or a close family that you're having to look after or be conscientious of as far as how you're going about things. So there's still something to being able to come in and interview in person, and so people are trying everything they can to facilitate that and do that safely. But at the same time, it's not looked down upon if somebody needs to do that virtually. So whether it's through a Zoom meeting like this or a Google Hangout, FaceTime, or even over the phone, I mean, I think everybody's trying to be accommodating and allow that option. So it really has not slowed us down in interviewing. We're moving forward as always, if not ahead of the game, as far as how our hiring season is going. So we're still able to interview and do that in a safe way, but then also accommodate as well.
Great. So I think it's really neat that the two of you taught and kind of moved up and into the positions that you're in now. So what advice would you give for our students about the application and interview process? What have you learned through your experiences?
Yeah, I'll take that on. I think some of the key things, obviously, when a person goes through and does their student teaching, they need to immerse themselves in that campus. And I know a lot of our clinical teachers have already gone through that and done their student teaching experience and hopefully had a great benefit and experience from that. When it comes back to the application process, I think there's two things that are critical. If I had to narrow it down to, if I could only name two things that are very, very important. Number one is your references matter. John already alluded to this. You want to make sure that you're getting a supervisor or an administrator or your supervising teacher or your the clinical teacher that oversaw the program. Those are really, really important. We put a lot of value in your reference. When you put somebody down for a reference, call and ask them first.
Preach.
People talk to them face to face so you can get that eye contact and see, you ask, hey, can you be a great reference for me? And if you see any hesitation, don't put them down. A bad reference can keep a person from rolling forward. Now, obviously, we can't do face to face, but I mean, call them on the phone. Don't ever put somebody down as a reference and not even give them a forewarning that you're putting them down. Always ask for their permission and ask if they can be a great reference. One of the things that we talked about when we came and visited with the student teachers earlier in the spring, or early, I guess it was in January, we talked about how making a rapport with the campus administrator, whether it's the assistant principal or the principal. That's a pretty powerful reference to have. I mentioned those others. And even if it's a past job that's totally unrelated to school, those still count. Those are still important. World experiences beyond just being a teacher are really, really important to have down because it shows life experiences. We were talking a little bit about candidates who go through the PACE program, the more non-traditional approach to get into education. A lot of those candidates make phenomenal teachers because they have some other experiences that they can bring into the classroom. And we have a lot of teachers that we hire through the alternative program. I'd say almost it's getting close to 50% of our hires come from both PACE or through the more traditional route. The other thing that I think's of huge importance is your preliminary video. John had talked about you go through your application, you get your references back. After we've received a certain number of references, you're going to receive an online link for you to do an actual video interview. You need to treat it like an interview. Our principals are going to see it and other supervisors are going to see it. John and I are going to view those. It's your first impression. You need to dress up for it. You need to be in an appropriate setting. You know, if you have an office setting, or I've seen people do their video sitting in a car. I mean, there's just some inappropriate settings that you wouldn't do that if you were normally interviewing face to face.
Or a bathroom.
Yeah, and it sounds comical, but you're picturing in your head, do I see this person? This is my first impression of this person. Do I see this person working with 22 fourth graders? That's a harder stretch for me. So treat it like a real interview. Dress up for it. You're going to have questions and you will respond to those. You have a one take to answer those. We treat it just like a regular interview. We're not expecting perfection. We're not expecting somebody to know all the answers, but that first impression is very important. And you have to somehow, you can say all the right things, but you got to have that emotional connection with your audience. And it can be done through a video interview. I've watched thousands of these now. And there's some people that when they're doing their video interview, they just grab your heart and you're like, gosh, I got to meet this person. I want to call them in for an interview. Or we're picking up the phone, one of our elementary principals, and saying, hey, you've got to bring this person in. This is a great candidate. If we don't bring this one in, we're going to lose them to, another one of our districts close by. So the video interview, and I'm old school because this is new for me, has been one of the most powerful things that has come through the application process. It's expedited things, allowed our candidates to be more viewable to more of our principals, and has given them more of an opportunity to get out there to have that interview at the campus, and it's usually with a group of teachers. But you got to get past that video interview first, and that is kind of your, hey, here's who I am, and this is what makes me special, and this is why I want to be part of Canyon ISD. Do your research before you do your video. You need to know something, go to our website, look some things up about Canyon ISD. Know that we've got we're going to have 3 high schools, that we're going to have 3 junior highs. We've got 3 intermediates and 8 elementaries, soon to have 2 more. Do some homework about the district. You need to know why you want to be part of Canyon ISD. And it may be because you just need a job, and I get that, but it needs to come through, I want to be part of Canyon ISD. This is the district that I want to be in. And you may be interviewing with Amarillo and Bushland and Highland Park and Hereford. That's great. You should cast your net wide, and there's lots of incredible districts all around this panhandle. We're good friends with all these different districts. But when you're interviewing with us, we want you to feel like you want to be with Canyon ISD. This is where you want your roots to be, and that's where your home wants to be. That needs to come through that video. John?
Yeah, I think Paul nailed it on the head right there. And, I would add to, kind of my advice to people all the time is you are always interviewing. You have already been interviewing for position as a teacher. And so, when we're contacting your professors and your supervisors, we know when we're talking to them on the phone that, wow, yeah, they're excited about this person being in the profession. Uh, the way that you've approached your coursework, the way you've approached the way that you've interacted in classes, and the way you interact at the grocery store, the way you are with your neighbor. I mean, that's the nice thing about Canyon. It still has that small town network feel of, you know, I can tell you how many times there's been a phone call of, hey, my neighbor is really wanting to get a job in the district. You really got to take a look at her. It's still small. I mean, you've got to approach it that you are always interviewing. The way that you carry yourself at all times, it says a lot. And you never know that one little interaction that you have somewhere is a principal or a teacher or one of us or somebody, and you make a strong impression on someone. Those are the kind of people that we want in the district, especially if experience is not on your side. We're looking for people. We're looking for who's going to bring that type of person you want to be with day in, day out, working with, that you want your kids with. That's kind of, you have to approach it. All of those interactions you do on a day-to-day basis are interviewing, so I think that's what I would say to approach it. I'm going to answer one of the questions on the side. I think kind of, maybe kind of speaks to this too. It was about substitute teaching. And if I don't answer your question, right on the money, let me know and I can better answer it later. But subbing is a great way to get in. If you've been subbing, or let's say position doesn't work out for this semester and you're going to sub in the fall, man, that's a fantastic way to get your foot in the door. It's a great way to build experience, relationship with kids, but then also relationships with teachers. You go in, you do a good job for a teacher, they want you back, next week that they have a doctor's appointment or their colleague does. And then you do a good job, that principal, that secretary, they want you back on the campus, and now they're in your corner, they're a reference for you. Substitute teaching, that's a fantastic way to get your foot in the door and build some experience.
Awesome. So good. Okay. There are some other questions. And so just students, we will be sure to get to those at the end if we don't address them before. So you've talked a lot. You've talked about great references and engaging videos. I know those students that you referenced in the bathroom were not WT students. I'm just saying, I mean, they had to be from another school, right? Because WT students.
They're from another state.
Yeah, they were. Yes, they were. Okay. So anyway, but I just want to ask you, qualities, personal traits, skills, like what are just a few things that come to mind as far as what you're looking for in the ideal candidate?
Well, I think a lot of it is being able to work well with other people. Professional learning is really taken a foothold over the last 15 years, last 10 years, where it's not you as you're just doing your own thing and you're in your own 20 by 20 classroom with your 20 students. It is obviously we have state guidelines that our teachers have to meet, and the content has to follow with that. But it's a much more collaborative working environment as a teacher now. So you're not a person on an island. So that's been a really good thing I've seen happen in education. It's a more of a collaborative environment. And so working well with others is critical. You're working with other professionals. Obviously, if you don't have a heart to be with kids, this really isn't the profession for you, because it's a tough job and there's going to be times your patience is going to be tested. So people who are just have that natural knack of working with kids and being able to relate to them and still have that professional, respectful air about them. We're looking for that. And a lot of that's hard to measure. You can just kind of feel it and you can see it when you're interviewing. But that comes out. Somebody who's always wanting to grow, because there's a constant change in this profession. You never arrive. There's always room to improve and I think a part of that is just society, and wherever you are in a business or our partners at WT, it's never a stagnant field. There's constantly growth, and you have to have a mindset that can adapt and grow with it, and not have a resistance to it. You have to evolve with that. So being a team player, heart for kids, and grow professional growth would be some of the highlights.
Yeah,
John?
I think Paul's right on there. I know as a campus principal, I always felt like I could teach skills. We can, somebody may come in and may not have the might be newer to the profession, whatever. Those things we can teach, but what's going to be hard to teach is how to really work well with people, how to have be evident of a love and a care for kids, and then also going to be somebody that's going to work well with parents, that parents are going to be excited that their kids are going to be with them almost more in hours in a day than they will be, so that to me was something that I was always looking for as a principal. What are those intangibles, those ability to to me, successful campuses come from successful teams within the campus. And so who's going to really add to this team, is going to bring the things to this team, work well, that dynamic, work in stressful times, have kids, work well with parents, that if somebody's experience, has the experience and the skill set to go along with that, great. But to me, I always really look heavily on that. So I'm probably just continuing to, say what Paul said, but I can't stress how important that is.
That is so good. Okay, so I'm going to ask you a few questions from the chat that students have raised, and then we'll let you close with some final thoughts that you have for students. So students, if you have any more questions, if you'll be sure and add those to the chat. One student said, since you just hired 23 teachers on Monday night, are you still hiring more students or more teachers for the school year? Do you know about all your openings, or?
Yeah, we still have probably 30 to 35 openings right now. It just kind of evolves. We might hire 2, and then we'll have a resignation come in. Then I hire 3, and then I might have 1 resignation. So it varies. The other day I hired 3 or 4, but then we had resignation come in. This is what we truly call the hiring season, and that's pretty much March through when school starts. And I would encourage anybody who's gone through this and they've had some interviews at a campus level, keep going along. Don't get discouraged. It sometimes just takes a little bit to get in. A lot of the ones that we've hired right off the bat, this is right here at the beginning. We've just started our hiring season. I spoke to this before. I think all our participants came in. Last year we hired just over 100 teachers, and so when I say we've hired 23 now, you do the math. We're about a quarter of the way through if we end up having 100 again this year.
So good. Okay, this is a specific situation. A student says that she's a recent WT graduate. She's seeking a teaching certification in ELA 7 through 12 through the Alternative Certification Program. How does she stand out in the hiring process, since her certification won't technically be valid until the end of her first year of teaching?
Yeah, I'll take that one. So what that will look like is you'll receive a statement of eligibility letter from your alternative certification program. Once we have that, it really, as far as what your application looks like, it's going to look pretty similar to a certified teacher. You are cleared to be in the classroom for a year, and I'll say this: I know as a principal, I was deterred by alternative certification routes. Some of the best hires on my campus were alternative certification. So, as long as we on the HR end, just kind of the technicalities of it, once we get a letter from you, that statement of eligibility, you're cleared to be interviewing and being looked at by campuses. And if you're ELA 7 through 12, that's a good field to be pursuing.
Awesome. One student said that the student graduated from WT in 2015 and then moved to Taiwan to teach for a year and a half, and spent a couple of years there as a couple of years in the States as a campus missionary. this student is not certified, what steps should this student take to work toward that, and who can she talk to? She or he, sorry.
Okay, WT guys, y'all might help me out on this one, but I would say contact WT because it's probably going to depend on what your undergrad looks like as far as what is this going to be for you to get certified. Is that going to take an exam, or are you going to get some additional coursework, or even go on the PACE program route? So that's probably what I would do was send you to WT. You guys, am I off on that? Does that sound about accurate?
I think the teacher prep folks can probably help, and I'll make sure to send you that information, the questionnaire.
Great, thank you. Okay, let me see what other questions we still need to do that. Somebody asked about, is Canyon ISD still planning on opening another elementary school this coming school year? Is that correct? That will happen for the fall?
We're not opening an elementary this fall,
Okay.
but we are open to the following year. So
Okay.
August 2021, we'll have Spring Canyon, which will be right behind our DSC and off the VFW, about a mile or two north of Crestview Elementary, just north of Hunsley Hills. And then we're opening Heritage Hills, which is in the southwest part of Amarillo. We have Hillside Elementary, which is a campus that opened about 10 years ago, has almost 700 students in it now, lots of homes being built there. And Heritage Hills is going to open in August of 2021. And then just to extend a little further with that, our brand new high school will open in August 2022, and it is West Plains High School.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to be the Wolves.
Very exciting. Okay, I'm looking here. I'm sorry if I've missed your question, students. We will certainly work on that. We talked about the elementary school. When's the best time to apply if you want to be a substitute?
I would say it doesn't have to go ahead and do that now, but probably summertime would be, we're going to see the most applications come in for that, and then that would get you in time for sub training. So there's nothing wrong with doing that now, but probably by summer, June, July.
Yeah, I'm going to echo that too. We try to keep between 300 and 350 substitutes. And really our substitutes, it's kind of like a business. It's your it's how much initiative you have. If you want to sub a lot, then you get out there and you sub. If you're wanting to do it more on a smaller scale, you don't sub as much. But John mentioned this earlier. That is a great way to get your foot in the door. Another thing I might mention on top of that, if somebody isn't going to end up teaching, they can also look at being a paraprofessional. A lot of our paraprofessionals have gone on to be teachers as well, aides on campuses.
Good. There was a question about a student put in an application recently and just wondered, what's the term, like how long does it usually take if you're going to hear back from the principal?
As far as, if you put your application in and that status is marked complete, you're viewable by principals. Now, it could be tomorrow, the principal wants to bring you in for an interview, or it could be June that the principal sees that application, wants to bring you in for an interview. It's hard to I can't really guarantee you a certain time frame. I think Paul kind of talked on this already. If you're not getting calls, from principals, or if you are getting a call for an interview and you don't get the position, don't be discouraged. Don't lose heart on that. Still continue to show interest and, find ways through subbing or maybe as a paraprofessional or, whatever it may be to kind of, set yourself apart from some of the other applicants. But don't be discouraged if you're not getting those calls yet. It can, sometimes you may get a position like Paul said, there, 6 WT students got jobs this year, and that happened very quickly. But then there's also people that are trying to get in the district for several years, and it just has not worked out. I think there's just there's a purpose and it all, it'll, don't be discouraged, but at the same time, you could get a call next week or maybe this summer.
Okay.
And I think it goes back to what I was talking about earlier. References are extremely important. Your impression through your preliminary interview is very, very important. Those are 2 important ingredients.
Very good advice. Okay, so I think I've addressed most of the questions. Oh, wait, one more. There's a question about, would it be a good idea to mention the district's mission statement in a cover letter?
Obviously, that would be a great thing to put down. I mentioned earlier, the more research that you do about the district, whatever district you're applying for, is positive. It shows that you've done your homework. Um, just kind of a little side funny here. Make sure when you do your cover letter, make sure you put to Canyon ISD and don't just do a blanket one that might have gone to Bushland and you accidentally put it to us. We've seen that happen sometimes when people do the generic letters and they forget to change the title there. And I've done it personally myself, but those little details are pretty important. So make us feel like you really want to be part of us.
That is so good. Okay, so students, I'm going to give them an opportunity to give some closing remarks, but we just want to say thank you to our partners at Canyon ISD for saying yes to doing this. When we found out we couldn't have the Educators Expo, we started thinking about ways that we could serve our students and really help to get you some information. And to me, this is like we just spent a long time at your booth at the Career Expo or the Educators Expo. So I just want to thank you on behalf of our team for that. I also just want to say to students that if you're applying to lots of positions and you're not getting any interviews, there's probably a problem with either your references or your resume. So you need to come see us at Career Services and let us help you with that. Your application materials are not catching the interest of the district. If you're getting a lot of interviews and no offers, you may have an issue with your interviewing skills. I can do some interviewing coaching with you. We can also do a mock interview program. And interviewing, people are like, I'm just bad at interviews, but you can get better at it. So I just want to encourage you in that, to work at it, to work at those skills. They want to, like they said, I loved it when you talked about really seeing a person's heart, because that's really what you're looking for. We're all, when we're hiring, we're looking for colleagues. We know that these are going to be people on our team, and people want good coworkers. So just know that we can help to meet those needs in Career Services. So closing remarks from Canyon ISD, anything that you'd like to share that I didn't ask with our students?
Go ahead, John.
No, I think that the questions were great. We really, like I said, we're looking for people that love kids, and our our phrase our superintendent uses is bring sunshine. We want somebody that's going to come in and really contribute to our community and contribute to our culture. So that's what we do value that. It's not cliche. That really something we look for. So we really are, we want to get the best people in the district, and WT always brings us good applicants. So we're definitely here and willing to help however we can. Any questions you have in the process, don't hesitate to call or email us.
And I would just echo a lot of that. We would love for you to apply with Canyon ISD. It's a great district to be part of. We got a great partner with WT as well. So if you're wanting to pursue even a higher education, we've got a great university right next door to us. So this is a wonderful district to be part of, and a great community. And I think if you have been at WT more than a year, you can see a lot of just the way this community is, and be it the university and the district and just the community as a whole. We're here to help you and serve you in any way we can. If there's any other things that we can do to answer specifics about Canyon ISD, John and I will be glad to visit with you. Either you can email or give us a call. We would be glad to discuss anything further, how we can help you.
Well, thank you for your heart for our students and for everything that you've done for us, for the time you've shared today. I know it's a busy time. So thank you all. Students, one last comment. There was a question here about finding out contact information for principals of the district. And if you go to canyonsd.net, you'll be able to go to the different district pages, and on each of those there's a staff link, and you can click on that, and on that staff link you'll be able to email directly the principal or the assistant principal. So just know that information is out there if you'll do some exploring, and we can help you with that also at WT if you just need some coaching on how to find that information. So we will sign off now. Thank you so much for being here, students. We appreciate your initiative and that you showed up today. And we will record this. So if you have peers that also need this information, it will be available and we'll be sending out more information soon. So thanks, y'all.